Everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to the 2025, first virtual training of the year. My name's Mike. I am the programs director at Africa Fire Mission, and super excited that you guys are joining us for this year's virtual training sessions. You guys took the time to join us out of your schedules, using your bundles to join us for today's training. We're going to have a great training session here today. We've got a couple of fire chiefs that are going to be joining us from the cold north up here to do some talking about incident command. So we're going to start out the year with a little bit of leadership and how you get things control of your incidents. So please sit back and get ready to enjoy that. Uh, Before we get started with our training today, I'm going to pass things over to Jose. Jose is our fire safety officer with the Africa Fire Mission, and going to ask him to get us started with just a few words of encouragement.
Thank you, Chief Mike. I truly appreciate you and really excited to see you, Mr. Vanderfest. It's been a minute since September. I'm so excited that I took an off the whole of December, and I'm now fresh to just come and serve everybody as we move on. And a thought just came through my head, like we're starting the whole year, and the online class has really grown. Can you imagine we're no longer just in Africa? We're in the Middle East, we are in America, we are all over. So I'm really, really happy that we are here. And you know what? This year may bring its challenges, but remember, you are never alone in this fight. That's what I want to tell you, you guys. Every call you respond to and every little life you touch makes a lasting impact. You're not wasting your time. You've never wasted your time being a firefighter. And you know what, my dear brothers and sisters, please make sure you take care of yourself. Learn to lean on each other and continue to be the light in the darkest tunnel, even as you begin this year throughout December. May God keep you, may his light shine on you, and may he be good to you and give you great health throughout this year. Back to you, Chief Mike.
Thank you very much, Jose. We appreciate everything that you do to try to help out the firefighters throughout all of Africa as you encourage and inspire them with training and assistance. So thank you for that, Jose. I'll invite everybody to stick around when we get finished at the top of the hour. We're going to pass things back over to Jose for our tea time. Tea time is a time where you can ask questions about today's class or really talk about anything that's on your mind. A great opportunity to do a little bit of networking with firefighters throughout Africa and throughout the world. So if you've got the time in the bundles, I invite you to stick around for that. Before we get started, just a administrative note or two. If you stick around for at least 70% of today's training, which is usually about 40 or 45 minutes, we'll get you a certificate of participation for today's training. If you get cut off, you can't stick around, you have to leave. You don't get that. I'll be posting a link in the chat where you can find today's recording of today's training, and you can watch that recording, answer a couple questions, and you'll be able to get your certificate of participation that way as well. Encourage you to check us out on YouTube. The training will premiere, I think, Friday morning on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to grow that. You'll be able to find some good resources there as well. At this point in time, we're going to jump into our training, and I'm going to pass things off. We've got two chiefs here working with us today, another Chief Mike and Chief Mark. I'm going to pass it over to you guys to get us started. Take it away, guys.
Hey everybody, good morning. Actually, good afternoon. So good afternoon to you, but good morning for me because where I am right now, it is the morning hours. It's still dark out, where both myself and Chief Romanos are located. And as Chief Mike Cole mentioned, it's snowing where we are. So we actually have snow on the ground Right now, it is actually 27 degrees Celsius. That's the temperature. So if you can relate to where you are right now, it's cold, and I don't like it. My joints and my arthritis, it hates it as well. So I'm looking forward to getting back to the warmer temperatures in a very due season. But with me today, as you can, folks, you can probably tell, I'm in my office right now talking to you. So I'm actually on duty. I am working today, as well as Chief Mike Fromos. He's also on duty. He's actually in the office next to me, and we're separated by a wall right now. But both of us are going to lead this session with you, fine folks, today on incident scene operations, or the functions, the beginning basic functions of being commander, being an incident commander. This is kind of a bit of a segue or introduction into our topic. Myself, I fulfill the role of two positions. So right now, where I am today, this is my part-time, or we can call it a hobby job or part-time job, where I am the chief of training at the Fort Gratiot Fire Department here in Michigan. My full-time job is I am a battalion chief, or other names might be platoon chief or district chief. It's the same position, but at a different department over in Canada. So I work in two countries basically, and I work in two different systems. And there are some differences, but there also are a lot of similarities as well. And being in that chief or command function or command role, everything points down, or everything funnels down rather, to one key thing, and that's going to be leadership. The introduction this morning from both Jose and Mike, the words leadership were used in that introduction. And certainly for those of you that are participating today, you may not all be a officer of some type. You may be just a firefighter, or just starting off in the industry as far as in the fire service goes. But at a point in time, you will have to exude, or have to show your leadership abilities in that role, whether it's the bottom person or the top person. And a good leader will be able to command the fire ground. A good leader will be able to command the fire station. A good leader will be able to have command presence everywhere they go, not as a dictator, but as somebody who people look up to, and they say, yes, I want to follow that person. That's what a good leader is all about. So I'm gonna get my screen shared for you so you can see what we're going to be looking at. And I'm not gonna dive into a whole lot of information today. Again, this is kind of setting the foundation of this topic, hopefully for future lessons that others will pick up and run with from here to there. Give me one quick second here. I want to make one quick change on my screen sharing. I want to see why this is not going. There we are. And then I'm going to go here, and we're going to share. All right, here we go. So now we can see what's on the screen. So as you see here, it does say we're looking at incident scene operations, and we'll look at a few basic principles of what that looks like as far as incident scene ops from the role of the person who has to be in command. And I'm using the word person as opposed to a chief or a captain, because in reality, anybody can be in that role. The first arriving firefighter on scene can be the incident commander. They have to be. They got to start the process off if you're following proper protocols of the incident command system. The first arriving firefighter will establish and will begin that incident command system. So anybody can be in this position. It's not just reserved for those with a captain or a lieutenant or a chief rank in that regard. But as you see there in that one slide, the bullet point, the very top one, it says at you as that individual, you are expected to provide that leadership. And again, that's why I said everything funnels down and hinges upon your leadership abilities. Because if you don't have those abilities to be a good leader, you will not be able to command a fire ground. You will not be able to lead a group of people into a situation and ensure that the job will get done, as well as their safety and the safety of others who you're there to help. It all funnels and hinges and is resting upon your leadership abilities, because you, as it says there, you are overseeing those with less training and experience. So even a firefighter could be the first person on scene, and they may be there, they may have 5 years experience, 5 years experience as a firefighter. They're first on scene, they establish command, they are the first incident commander. And as they have other firefighters who may have 2 years, 1 year, 6 month experience, that's what that's referring to. They're overseeing those people who have less training and less experience. So that's why it's required that the person in charge, the person in command, is going to have that ability to lead those people, because they're looking like the sheep and a shepherd. Okay, the sheep look to the shepherd, and the shepherd leads the flock. The shepherd takes them to the greener pastures. And as scripture says, the sheep know the shepherd's voice, because they look up to that shepherd and they follow her, because they put their faith and trust in him or her to lead them to that greener pasture. And that's what a good leader is. People will have the You will have the ear of the individuals to whom you're overseeing in that capacity. So what does that look like? What does that leader have to be proficient, right? So it says there, be proficient in certain skills and understanding. Well, one is going to be, as mentioned, leadership and management. Those two terms are different. Leadership and management are two different spectrums that you have to fulfill. If you are an officer, like a captain or a lieutenant or a chief officer, you are fulfilling both of those roles. Let's look at management. Management is where you, as an individual, are looking after the every day-to-day affairs or the day-to-day business of the fire department. That means, like right now, I'm on duty, so part of my management role is to look after the training side of the fire department. So I'm looking after completing paperwork, inputting reports on our record system. That is completing audits on our training records. That's ensuring the daily training is being completed. That's looking down the road for the next 6 months and planning out what that may look like. Those are the day-to-day affairs. In my battalion chief role, it's the same thing. I'm dealing with scheduling, making sure people are there at work on time, managing their sick time, managing their vacation. I'm dealing with purchasing items. Right, those are all the administrative day-to-day items, and that's what management is. You are managing the department on a daily basis, whereas leadership is separate from that, where you are the one that's out front and people are wanting to follow you in a certain initiative or on a certain path that we're going towards for a certain goal, or it might be in this case on the fire ground. They're looking to you for direction on what to do and how to do it, because you have the experience and the knowledge and the confidence to be in that role. So those two are separate, and that's why you need to be proficient in both, right? There's a place and time to be a manager. There's also a place and time to be the leader. What else must you be proficient in? Right? Delegation of authority. That's a big fancy word, but basically means you need to know your limitations. You need to know what your ceiling is going to be with your abilities in terms of what I can and cannot accomplish on my own. So if I'm given a project, and I'll give you an example. There's a project I'm working on right now as a battalion chief, and it is a I'm constructing or building a new command vehicle for us to respond in. So we're getting a new command truck. It's a pickup truck. I have all the nice lights and the radios and the command boards and the pull-out tray and everything in the back. That's a big project. I am overseeing it, so I'm managing the project, but I'm delegating certain parts of that project to other people to look after because it's too much for me to deal with. It's exceeding my limitations for what I can deal with on my own. And that's where delegation comes in. I'm going to give another person a certain part of my project or of my job. Here you go. I'm going to give this to you. You have full authority to do what you need to do to make that come to life. And you get that done. And when you got it done, you report back to me. And then I can pick up from there and keep going. That's what that refers to. So on the fire ground, how's that look on the fire ground? On the fire ground, we do a lot of delegating because the incident commander, if I'm arriving on scene first and I'm the incident commander and I have, let's say, 10 firefighters on site with me, I'm not going to tell all 10 guys, hey, you stand back and watch. I'll take care of this all by myself. And I grab the hoses and I grab the ladders and I'm going in and I can't do that. I have to delegate those assignments to those 10 firefighters. So I'm going to assign 2 firefighters to grab one hose on or one branch and pull it into the building. I'm going to assign another firefighter to grab the ladder and go ladder the window. I'm going to give another assignment to another firefighter to go and do a search inside that room. And that's what I'm delegating my task or my assignments to those other people. And they have the authority to go do what they got to do to get that job done. And a good incident commander, a good leader will know how to delegate some of those responsibilities to individuals to help themselves get the job done. Now, the key thing with delegation is hopefully the people to whom you are giving those assignments, they have the ability to do it themselves. You do not want to give a 3-year-old child the keys to your vehicle and say, hey, drive down to the store and go get me a bottle of water, right? You're delegating something that they cannot handle and deal with themselves. So when I'm giving someone an assignment, I'm delegating a task to another firefighter. I'm giving it to them knowing that they can handle it. This is going to be in their limitations. And for some, it might be just on the borderline of this is their limitations. I'm pushing it just a little bit above because I want them to grow. I want them to develop and have to maybe use some critical thinking skills. I'm going to challenge them. And by giving them that assignment, by delegating that assignment, they are going to have the opportunity to have to think a bit more and kind of develop and push themselves a little bit above to help them grow in that way as well. That's what delegating helps and does for us. So as an incident commander, be proficient with that. Get used to doing that, delegating your tasks as you need to those people who are there available to assist you with getting your objectives met. Okay, so the firefighters that are under your command and are under you, they have to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. All right, they must understand that as you're in that position, you're the one in charge, you're the one in command. Why is that person telling us to do this? They do need to see the bigger picture, and that of course comes with education and training. So training them on the aspects of what incident command looks like. It's not just reserved for the officers. Everybody needs to know how incident command operates, the purpose of it, how it functions, how it looks on the fire ground. And by doing so, the firefighters in those roles, they will understand why you, as that incident commander, are telling them to go do this or go do that, or I want you to stand here and wait until I say to go and take care of something else. All right. So they must understand those different aspects. They also must understand what traits that a person must possess in order to be a good leader. That's a fancy word, traits. And what it really refers to is your character, your characteristics. Right? Who makes you? That's the very ugly way of saying it. Who makes you as far as who you are? Are you a funny person? Are you a quiet person? Are you a very loud person? Are you shy? Are you timid? Are you boisterous? That's part of characteristics and traits that people possess. And sometimes those traits can be a good thing, or it can sometimes be a bad thing. And some of the traits that leaders should have that we look to when you as an individual look to a person above you, right? So if you're at a conference and you are surrounded by other fire chiefs or other chief officers, and you're listening and watching to how they conduct themselves and what they say and how they say it, you're observing their characteristics, and you're observing the traits that they exhibit and they portray on a regular basis. And what you see here listed are a few of what a person should possess in order to be an effective leader on the fire ground. Right. So the first one, supervisory ability. Right. Definitely, we are there on the fire ground overseeing personnel, overseeing firefighters. So we have to have the ability to be able to supervise all the people that are on that fire ground. Now, it's very easy if it's only five people. That's easy. But if I have 500, not so easy. But it can be if I use the proper command functions and use the incident command system to its designed intent. It's not that difficult to supervise 500 people, but I have to have the ability to do so. And that will rest upon things like delegating things out, using the functional areas of command as far as operations, logistics, planning, admin, finance, and so on, safety, liaison, all those different areas, and use those different areas to my advantage to be able to supervise my personnel as I need to. Excuse me. Communication. Right now we're doing that. Right now we are communicating. Fortunately, it's one way for the most part because I'm speaking. There's not much ability to have the two-way where you can respond back. But certainly when I was there with you folks in November down in Nairobi, Kenya, we had that two-way communication. I was able to ask questions, and hopefully I did get answers back and receive that feedback. So communication is very important. If we do not communicate on the fire ground, nothing's going to get done. So I know last year in 2024, I think it was in December, I did lead a session like this on incident scene communications. And that little hour kind of covered off the important aspects of what needs to be included in communications on the incident scene. So I'm not going to rehash that, but if you go back and can review and look at it, you'll see what I'm referring to as far as you have to have those good communication skills and know how to communicate with individuals in different ways. It's not going to be one way only. So right now where I am, we use a two-way radio, portable radio. That's what we use primarily for communications on the fire ground. Well, if that radio battery dies, how am I going to communicate now to command, or how am I as incident commander going to communicate to my personnel? And that's where you got to figure out what other methods and avenues do I have access to and that I can use. One that we all can carry around is our cell phones nowadays. And that's another method for us. Face-to-face is the best, but can also be done. Hand signals, just looking at somebody. I can give someone a look And with a certain facial expression, they know what that means, and that's a way of communicating. All right, so you got to have those good communication skills. Along with that, I'll just add this one more thing with communication. You need to be direct. On the fire ground, when you are in command, right? You have that command presence. You're the boss. This is not the time to deliver your thesis on effective tactical ventilation in this building. There's no time for that. You need to be direct, succinct, to the point with what you need to get done. And this is where you have to be a bit of a dictator, because if I'm not a dictator on the fire ground, things will not be accomplished. So I'm going to have to point and say, I want you to go do this. That's direct, succinct, and to the point where the person receiving that message from me knows exactly what I want. There's no guessing. Did Mark say this? Does he want me to do that or not? No, I'm being very direct. I want you to grab that hose line and go into that door and put the fire out. That's direct, succinct, and to the point. So communication in the fire ground has to be direct. You have to be dictatorial a little bit as well in your delivery so people know what you want. When they don't know what you're saying, things fall apart at that point. Decisiveness. You need to make decisions. As incident commander, you're the top dog. You're the one responsible for everything. And people are looking to you for direction. And that requires you to make a decision. There are a lot of chief officers I can say I've come in contact with that are a chief officer. They are the incident commander, but they cannot make a decision at all. They rely upon others to make that decision for them. And that's a weak leader, because that tells everybody when they see that person can't think. That person does not know what they're doing, and they're there only because they got an uncle somewhere that promoted them to that position. You need to make decisions, and you need to make decisions quickly, right? On the fire ground, when you're at an incident scene, if you pull up to a apartment building, a multi-story building, or even a single-story building in your response area, and there's fire in one part of that building with a person trapped, you do not have the time to sit there and start going, I wonder if I should do this. What happens if I do that? What's going to happen? And then start taking your time and playing in your mind, the what if scenarios. There's no time for that. You need to right now decide we're doing this. And that's what decisiveness means. As an incident commander, you need to make decisions immediately, but your decisions that you make, you're making it with sound judgment, because you have the experience, you have the knowledge, you have the training, and you have the ability to say, yes, what I'm deciding is the right way to go, and I'm going to stand on that decision and make it happen. Do we make mistakes? Yes, we do. Do I make mistakes every day of the week? Just ask my wife, Joan. She'll produce a long book of the mistakes I make every day. But as an incident commander, when I make a decision, if it's the wrong decision, I have to realize that wasn't the right decision. I gotta correct what we're doing and maybe make a new decision to say, hey, you know what? Guess what, gentlemen? We're not going to do that. We're going to do this instead because it's not working. That's also part of being decisive, recognizing the decision you made is either working or not working. My friend, another guy named Mike, a lot of Mikes in this conversation, but my good friend Mike, he's a captain on a rescue in Toronto, and his thermometer that he likes to use for gauging success is he'll ask himself, am I winning or am I losing? And if he's made a decision and then looks and goes, hey, we're losing the battle, he corrects himself and makes a new decision. But if he looks and goes, hey, we're winning, he knows that's the right decision he made, and he keeps forging ahead with what he's doing. So be decisive. Along with that, if you do make a mistake and it's the wrong call or decision that you've made, a good leader will own up to it. A good leader will admit, I made this decision. This was on me. It was the wrong one. I take full responsibility for that decision. That's a good leader because it tells those who are looking up to them that they are willing to admit that they're wrong. It was not the right thing to do, and they're owning that responsibility, and they're also asking for forgiveness in the process as well from those that they're overseeing. Okay, it kind of ties into judgment, right? I kind of mentioned that a little bit with my decisiveness talk about having good, sound judgment. A good leader is going to have good judgment of what needs to be done. It's like being a father. If you're a father right now and you have children, you're using judgment every day to raise your children, right? You're giving them the keys to success by showing them what's right and what's wrong and what they need to do to always be in the right as opposed to being in the wrong. And that requires judgment. A person has to have good judgment to know what is right and what is wrong. On the fire ground, it's not a matter of right and wrong. It is what is the best thing for us to do right now to deal with this situation. That's good judgment. And again, that comes, yes, from upbringing, but also comes from training and education. And that's why if you have been in Nairobi with us and we're there in person, I've always told the group before we leave, one thing I'll pass on, that is to never stop learning. You have to always be educating yourself with what the fire service has to offer in terms of new information, different tactics, other people's experiences, right? So if I'm reading an article or reading on the web about what Battalion Chief Smith did over in Kansas City or someplace else at a call, I'm learning based upon their experience. That helps me to make good judgment, to have good sound judgment in the process. Self-assurance. Okay, a good leader is not going to be a self-doubter. Okay, hopefully you know what that means. When you are a doubting Thomas, you never know what you're doing. And when you're always doubting yourself, can I do this? Do I have the ability? Should I do this? Do you think I can do this? After a while, people will look to you and go, this person's weak. This person is not able to lead because they're always questioning themselves with everything they do. There's certainly a time to reflect. There's a time to reflect for yourself and say, okay, at this particular call that I was at, I made this decision, I did this, I did that. Was it the right thing? What could I have done different? That's not a doubting person. That's somebody who is learning on their own and reviewing what they're doing to be much better at their job for as far as judgment and decisiveness. But a person who's always doubting their abilities are doing it right then and there at the present time. And that's a very weak person. So you got to have that self-assurance. And we kind of use the word command presence, where when I walk into a room and I don't say a word, everybody knows that I'm there and I'm in charge. That's command presence when you can do that. If you watch TV, I'm sure you all have watched TV on the web, or when you watch President Trump walk into a room, everybody knows he's there. He doesn't say anything, he says nothing. But when he walks in that room, you know President Trump is in the room. His presence commands it. And that's a good leader as far as being self-assured. Okay, what else? Initiative. What does that mean? It means you are looking down the road and you are saying, hey, right now on January the 8th, on Wednesday, we have this going on right now, but I think by January 10th, this is going to happen. to prepare for that, I'm going to put this and this in place. That's initiative, right? You're doing something to prevent something, or you're doing something or putting things in place to prepare and to avoid what may happen down the road. A lot of firefighters do not have initiative. They have to wait to be told, hey, can you grab the mop and can you clean the floor? Or hey, can you grab the washcloth and maybe wash down the counter? Because you're sitting there watching TV doing that. That's a person with no initiative, as opposed to you as a chief officer. You are on the station, you're in the station walking around, and there's one of your firefighters on their own washing the truck, cleaning it. That's initiative. On the fire ground, I want to see firefighters with initiative doing their job without having to be told, can you pick up that ladder and go put it there? Because there's a person at the window calling for help. Hopefully the firefighter sees the person and knows, hey, I got to get that person down, so I better grab the ladder and go do it. And they do it on their own without having to be told, hey, can you go do it? And you as a chief officer in command, that's what you want from your firefighters. You want them to have that initiative. What also translates into being a good leader. All right. You have to have the same character where you're looking down the road and you're going to start doing things to prepare for it or to avoid it. And on the fire ground, that's part of your size up. Right? You're stepping back and looking at the big picture. And as the event is unfolding, you're consistently looking at that big picture to say, okay, what's going to happen next? What do I think is going to occur or take place next? And if that does take place next, I got to have this ready to go. So I better call for more backup, right? That's initiative. A good leader will have that. If you don't have it, you're not going to be successful in your position there. Sense of priority. Okay, a person needs to be able to prioritize what has to get done on the fire ground. Right? As things are happening quickly, there's no time to sit and pull out a big piece of paper and start drawing down your game plan to say, okay, what should I do first, second, third, and fourth? You need to know very quickly, based upon what I'm seeing, what needs to be attended to now and what can be kind of attended to later. And that's a sense of priority, right? Obviously, life safety always comes first. And that's not just life safety for the people we're helping, it's life safety for us. So if I see firefighters that are being put in danger for no good reason at all, none, I have to have a sense of priority saying their safety comes first. I'm going to move them away from that problem to save them from being hurt. That's a sense of priority. What else? Interpersonal skills. As a human being, and as the person leading or in charge or on the fire ground in command, I got to have the ability to relate and be able to deal with people. If I'm not a people person, and that's a term I use where I'm always wanting to hide from the public and just want to be by myself and don't come talk to me, you're not going to have those interpersonal skills. You will not be able to do your job. But if I'm able to relate, I can speak to people, I can carry on with conversation with them. I'm able to read and know that with this individual, I have to approach him in this way. And with that individual, I can joke around with them. And with that individual, I have to be very serious, right? That's all part of interpersonal skills. You know your firefighters. And when you're able to relate to them and um, able to work with them in that way, you will be much more effective because now you are individually addressing them, so to speak, and they will connect with you better as opposed to you as a chief officer in the fire ground. If you only know one way to deal with people and that's it, it's not going to work for the masses or for everybody. Sorry, it'll work for most, but not all. And you will find the ones it doesn't work for, they're like cats kind of running off. And I got to go herd them back in somehow, but it's not working, right? And that's part of that problem is I'm not able to relate to those people, and I don't know how to deal with them on an individual basis. Empowerment, fancy word, kind of refers back to the delegation of authority, right? Empowerment means I'm going to empower you. I'm going to make you in charge of this, and you go do that job because now you're empowered to go do it. I'm passing on some of my authority. That's what that fancy word means. And again, it boils down to delegating, as we already mentioned, discussed in the beginning there. Preparedness. All right, you as a chief officer and the one who will be in command. So I'll use myself in this instance. As a battalion chief, I need to be prepared to go to work and to be in that role. That means I have to have my mind clear, my mind prepared, my mind thinking about, okay, today I'm going to work. It's snowing outside, it's cold. So I'm gonna be dealing with freezing water situations, ice on the road, slippery conditions, cold weather. Now, these are all the things I am preparing for as I'm going to work. So that if a call comes in that I have to deal with as a battalion chief, as that incident commander, I'm already thinking about, okay, yeah, I know it's cold. I got to address the ice problem. I have to address the getting the people inside someplace warm that have been evacuated from the building. I got to deal with maybe slow response because I got to drive on a snow covered road, right? That's all part of being prepared. Now, I'm using my current time and day here, but where you're at, it's going to be different, right? You may have other things to prepare for, like maybe I only have 3 firefighters with me and that's it. How am I going to deal with these situations with only myself and 3 firefighters? Because my next help to arrive may be an hour away. Or you may be facing things like, where's my nearest water supply? I only have the water on my truck. How am I going to deal with situations with only the water on my truck? And that's it. That's all part of being prepared. And when you're prepared, you're much you're setting yourself up more for success. Success in terms of being able to deal with the issues that you prepared for. It's not success like you're always going to win. We don't always win. We sometimes do lose. But at least I'm prepared to deal with the loss in terms of I only have myself and 3 firefighters. My next help is an hour away. That means we'll be in defensive operation the entire time. I am preparing for the loss because I thought about it ahead of time. Proactiveness. Proactiveness does kind of tie into initiative a little bit, but it's the same thing where I am preventing rather than reacting. So in the world of health and safety, we always look at, preventive measures. What could we put in place? What could we have done to remove the hazard? And proactive means you're looking ahead and you're putting things in place or removing things or adding things to prevent something from getting worse and hopefully getting better in the long run. That's proactiveness. So these traits that we kind of looked at here, again, for our topic of incident command or incident scene operation, it's not a sexy thing to look at, but an individual has to possess a good number of these, if not all of them, in order to be effective and to have that command presence when they are in charge. Not every incident commander is going to be a perfect person. I am not a perfect person. When I'm in command, I certainly do make my mistakes and my oversights here and there, but I quickly go back and learn after the fact. Next time, I got to make sure I avoid this. Or next time, when I have that person on the fire ground, I better make sure I put this in place to to make sure I control them or make sure that they do their job or they communicate with me better. So we do make mistakes all the time. I do every day, but I have to recognize the mistakes I've made. And hopefully, with my traits that I have listed here, I'm able to make that adjustment and become better for myself the next time I'm going to be in command. I'm going to I was just going to take us to this point to today anyway, because this is a good point to stop without going into further details about being in command and having that command presence. So right now we're at about 3 minutes left until our time is up. But I did see someone's hand was kind of raised. Was there a question someone had that they want to throw my way?
You guys can unmute yourself, or like you said, use the raise hand, or drop a question in the chat.
I thought I saw someone's hand pop up. If not, I know I kind of hogged most of the time. So if Chief Romanos has anything to add, I'll let him add a few things in before he has to go to his meeting after this as well.
Well, Mark, you did a great job, and I appreciate the other chiefs and Mike for allowing me to participate with the brothers and sisters from across the world today. One of the biggest things that I take away with leadership, not just on an incident scene, but in everything that we do, is relationship building. And the traits that Chief Vanderfeist had posted up there and we went through, it comes down to me personally, what are your core values? How do you incorporate those into your daily life, and related to the fire service, and building the relationships and mentoring our people to be successful. And that starts from day one that we get the new people coming into the firehouse, long before we even get to an incident scene, to hopefully create that impact for the citizens that we're serving, but we have to create that impact for the people that are working with us. I'm a firm believer in the team concept. I know Mark brought that up a couple of times, and I'm sure most of us on the conference call, we love sports, whether it's soccer, or American football, or even ice hockey, which they do have in Kenya with the Kenya Ice Lions. It's about building your team, surrounding yourself with people that you can mentor and that want to be mentored. So that way, not only is the organization successful, but you have a successful outcome on the incident scene that you're responding to. We could delve into this. I love talking about leadership and marketing and developing and mentoring people. But as Chief said, I've got another meeting to head to here at our time, 9 o'clock. But I just appreciate the opportunity to be here, and hopefully I get invited back so I can impart some wisdom and learn from you guys as well. So Mark, Mike, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chief. Much appreciated for you being here. We'll get you another slot whenever you've got some time. At this point in time, we'll take a few moments here to open the floor up for some questions, if there are any. You guys can go ahead and unmute yourself, use the raise hand feature, type of question in the chat. We'll take a few moments here and field some questions if you've got any. Errol's got a question for you there, Mark. How does one deal with conflict of interest when in leadership?
All right, so that's kind of a difficult question to answer because there's a lot of different parameters, different aspects to think about in terms of conflict of interest. it's very much that's going to deal with how well can you deal with politics. Certainly, when there's a conflict of interest in leadership, it's going to be political always. Um, People who are appointed in positions because of family relations or because of certain specialty favors being paid back, that's where you have that conflict of interest that will arise, and it does present and will create issues on the fire ground. How do you deal with that? You're going to have to be a person that learns quickly in how to navigate politics and to play with politics. Unfortunately, there are, even where I am here in the US and Canada, we have the same thing happen sometimes. There are people who are put in positions that they should not be in that position, but because of circumstances such as appointments, favoritism, family relations, seniority-based promotion systems, it is what it is. And that person is in that position. And we have to unfortunately work with that person, even though there's a conflict of interest, but we still got to do our job. So how do I do that? I have to myself, and this is well, I'll use myself as the example. In my experience, I've had to learn quickly how to interpersonally relate with that person so that I can get my job done and know how to navigate politics, how to play the game of politics to appease that individual at the same time accomplishing the goal that I have to get done on that fire ground. And that's it. That is a delicate dance to perform, unfortunately.
Couple other questions there. Let's see. As a follow-up to that, conflict of interest in relation to superiors being younger than the rest of the team, what advice for maybe a younger, we've got somebody young in that leadership position trying to take command, their whole crew's all older than them. Any tips for that?
Well, certainly that's going to be the case. You're going to have some people that are going to be younger, who are going to be the chief officer. Um, and for a lot of, well, I guess human nature is human nature. We always look to the older person that they're going to be the automatic leader, right? They're 50 years old. I'm only 40, so therefore they should be the one leading. It's like your brother and your brothers. If you have brothers in your family, the oldest brother is the one who's going to be the elder and lead the family and look after deals and so on. And that's sometimes not always going to be the case. So we are going to have the younger brother, as it is, the one in charge. And on the fire ground, yes, you're going to find a younger person that could be the instant commander. But as long as that younger person possesses the traits we kind of looked at today and does not abuse them. What I mean by that is they're not going to abuse their position of power. I'm the chief. You'll do what I say, and they make him do things regardless just because of that rank and structure file system. That's abusing their power and their position. If they do that, they're not going to be a good leader. They're not going to have the ear of the people wanting to follow them. But a younger person can be a very effective leader if they use their leadership traits, their leadership skills, they exude or exhibit command presence in the right way on the fire ground. If they do that, they're then going to be able to lead people who are older than them in the process. And the ones that are older, if they're mature enough and they are open-minded, will recognize, hey, this person is doing a good job and I will follow the younger to get to where we have to go. It's not easy. If you are right now the younger person on the fire ground and you're the chief officer, you got a bigger battle to fight for yourself. And it is a struggle to be in that role. But if you are willing to always educate yourself, learn, listen, do a lot of listening, self-reflecting, go back afterwards on your own, think, okay, was this the best way to deal with this? Was this the right way to deal with this? Make those adjustments, go back out and do it again. You will find yourself day by day succeeding and getting ahead in the long run.
Excellent, good answer, Mark. I started chief fire officer at 26, so I lived that being that young guy leading an older crew. So it is possible you can be successful at it. That's for sure. There is a couple other questions. We're going to get to those, but before we do, let me just wrap up the formal portion of our training here with a big thank you to Chief Mark, Chief Mike, for leading today's class. A big thank you to all of you guys for taking the time out of your schedules, spending your money to grab those data bundles so you can join us for the training. We don't take any of you for granted, and appreciate all of you. So thank you. Be sure to share that new registration link with everyone so that we can get this place filled up. We've got plenty of extra seats. Please feel free to share that with anyone you think may benefit from today's training. And thanks for coming, and I hope to see you all again next week.